I'm 28, female, married to my husband Mark, who's 30. We have a baby boy named Ethan, 2. Mark's mom, my mother-in-law, Marianne, 58, female, has 2 children, Mark and his older sister Anna, 32, female. Anna is married to John, who's 35, male. And they have 2 children, Sophia, 6, female, and Liam, 4, female. This whole situation revolves around Marianne, my relationship with her and how her behavior has affected both my son and Anna's kids. When I became a mom for the first time, I expected that there would be learning curves, late nights, and moments of panic, but I also thought that family support would make things a little easier. I grew up in a home where my mom and dad were very present, and grandparents were the type to babysit and cook meals and step in whenever help was needed. When Ethan was born, I thought it might be similar with Mark's family. At first, Marianne seemed excited. She always talked about being the kind of grandma who was involved, who spoiled her grandkids and gave them experiences. She bragged to her friends and relatives about how ready she was to step in as a grandma. She liked to say she raised 2 kids all by herself, and that she was an expert at this. She told people she couldn't wait to babysit Ethan alone and give me and Mark a break. At first it sounded nice. I thought maybe I could rely on her once in a while, but from the very beginning I noticed red flags. Marianne liked to take credit for everything, but did not like the responsibility that came with it. She always wanted the fun part of being a grandma without the work. She did not like following rules about nap schedules or food. She did not like changing diapers. She did not like being inconvenienced. She wanted to be seen as amazing, but not actually do the hard part. The first big incident happened when Ethan was 9 months old. Marianne had been asking non-stop to watch him by herself. She said that I hovered too much and that Ethan would bond better with her if I just let her have him for a few hours. I was nervous because Ethan was still so little, but Mark suggested we give it a chance once, so I agreed. I had a hair appointment and Mark had errands, so it felt like the right time. We dropped Ethan off at Marianne's house around 11 in the morning and said we would be back at 3. When I showed up at 3, Marianne wasn't home. My heart dropped the second I realized the house was empty. I started panicking, calling her phone over and over. When she finally picked up, she sounded relaxed and told me she was at the nail salon. I asked where Ethan was, and she brushed it off like it was nothing, saying he was probably around, maybe with a neighbor. I felt my stomach turn. I ran through her neighborhood screaming my baby's name. A neighbor told me she saw a toddler wandering earlier with another kid but wasn't sure where he went. That was the scariest 4 hours of my life. My baby was missing. Eventually, a police officer found Ethan sitting near a gas station a couple of blocks away. Someone had given him a juice box and he was crying but safe. I remember clutching him so tightly I could barely breathe. I couldn't believe Marianne had left him like that. She did not even look sorry when she got back. She just said kids wander and it wasn't a big deal. She told me I was overreacting. From that moment, I told Mark that Marianne would never watch Ethan alone again. It wasn't negotiable. Mark agreed but felt conflicted because he did not want to hurt his mom. Marianne, of course, went on the offensive. She told her friends, her siblings, and anyone who would listen that I was controlling, that I did not trust her, that I was keeping her grandson away from her. She made herself sound like the victim. She left out the part about Ethan being found near a gas station because she had gone to get her nails done. She made it sound like I was just an overprotective mom who did not want to share. For months after that, at every family event, People made little comments. They said I should loosen up. They said grandparents deserve time with their grandkids. They said I shouldn't be so strict. Nobody seemed to know the real story because Marianne twisted it in her favor. I wanted to shout the truth, but at the same time, I did not want to relive the trauma of almost losing my baby. So I stayed quiet, focused on Ethan, and let people think what they wanted. Time passed and Marianne kept trying to undermine me. She would visit and complain that I hovered too much. She would make passive-aggressive comments about how kids need independence. She would act offended if I corrected her when she gave Ethan something unsafe to eat or ignored his nap schedule. But I stood firm. She never watched him alone again. Then a few weeks ago, everything blew up again. Anna, my sister-in-law, called me out of nowhere in tears. She said she left her kids, Sophia and Liam, at Marianne's house for a cousin's play date. Apparently Marianne was hosting and there were supposed to be other kids from her side of the family there. Anna thought it would be a fun afternoon, but when she came back to pick them up, the house was empty. No kids, no Marianne. The door was unlocked, wide open. Anna started panicking. She called Marianne repeatedly, but she did not answer. She started searching the neighborhood and asking neighbors. Nobody had seen Sophia or Liam. She finally called me because she remembered that I never let Marianne babysit, and she wanted to know why. That was when I told her everything. I told her about Ethan going missing for 4 hours. I told her about Marianne leaving him while she went to get her nails done. I told her about the police finding him near a gas station. Anna broke down crying on the phone. She said she had no idea that her mom always said I was controlling and dramatic. She believed that version and never questioned it. Now she was terrified because her own kids were missing. While we were talking, Anna also contacted the police. After almost 2 hours of chaos, Anna got a call from a stranger. A woman said she found 2 little kids walking down the road near a strip mall. They looked lost, so she stopped and asked where their mom was. They gave her Anna's phone number and she took them into a frozen yogurt shop while she waited. Thank God Sophia and Liam were safe, but they had been wandering down the road for God knows how long. Later it turned out that Marianne had left them home alone while she drove across town to meet a friend for lunch. She just assumed they would entertain themselves, but they left the house and started walking. It was exactly the same thing that happened with Ethan, only this time it was Anna's kids. Anna called me again that night. She was crying, apologizing, saying she couldn't believe she ever doubted me. She said she thought I was being harsh with her mom, but now she understood. She said she felt guilty for not protecting her kids better. Now the entire family knows the truth. Anna told everyone. She included Ethan's story too. Suddenly people aren't calling me controlling anymore. Now they are whispering about how irresponsible Marianne is. But Marianne is still playing the victim. She said Anna and I are exaggerating. She said nothing bad actually happened because the kids were found safe. She said we are trying to ruin her relationship with her grandkids. The tension is unbearable. Mark is furious with his mom. He said he doesn't even want her around anymore. Anna doesn't want her kids near her at all. John is talking about filing a report because he said leaving kids like that is considered abandonment. Some relatives are finally understanding why I made the choices I did, but others are still defending Marianne, saying she just made mistakes, that she doesn't deserve to be cut off completely, that we are being too harsh. Meanwhile, Marianne is going around telling people that I am the one who poisoned Anna against her. She said Anna only got upset because I filled her head with stories. She won't admit what she did. She keeps saying kids need freedom and independence. She keeps acting like nothing is wrong. It has turned into a giant family war. I feel vindicated because now people see why I said no to Marianne all this time. But I also feel exhausted because this whole situation is so heavy. I did not want drama. I did not want fights. I just wanted to keep my baby happy. Now Anna and I are united on this, but it feels like there is no going back. Some relatives have picked sides. Some are angry at us. Some are angry at Marianne. Some are just pretending nothing happened. This family group chat is a mess. Holidays are going to be a nightmare, and through it all, Marianne refuses to take responsibility. I do not know what to do anymore. I never wanted to be labeled the controlling daughter-in-law. I just did not want my child wandering near a gas station because his grandma thought a manicure was more important than watching him. So I keep asking myself, am I really the controlling daughter-in-law that Marianne says I am? Or am I just a mom who refused to gamble with her child's safety when nobody else believed me? AITA for never letting my mother-in-law babysit alone after my baby went missing, even though now the same thing happened to my sister-in-law's kids? Update 1. Hi, it's been a while, so I thought of posting an update about what happened since everything blew up, and honestly, things have gotten so much messier than I thought they would. At first, I figured after Anna's kids went missing, everyone would finally see what I had been saying all along, and it would end there, but the fallout just keeps getting bigger. And now it feels like the whole family is split down the middle and every move is being watched and judged. Mark barely speaks to his mom at this point, and when he does, it's short and cold because he doesn't even trust himself not to explode. Marianne keeps pretending she doesn't understand why everyone's angry at her and keeps saying she raised 2 kids already, so clearly she knows what she's doing, but nobody who actually saw the chaos that day is buying it anymore. Anna especially is furious, and it's almost scary how much her relationship with her mom has changed overnight. She used to be the golden child who could do no wrong in Marianne's eyes, but now she's constantly posting vague quotes on Facebook about betrayal and trust and people who let you down, and it's so obvious who it's aimed at. John, on the other hand, is not hiding anything. He's told anyone flat out that he wants Marianne nowhere near his kids. And he's been making calls about whether he can file some kind of neglect report because technically what she did qualifies as leaving kids unattended, and he thinks a legal record might be the only way to stop her from pulling this stunt again. I am not going to lie. There's a part of me that feels relieved someone else is pushing for consequences because when it was only about Ethan, everyone brushed it off. But now that it's happened twice, there's no way to keep pretending it was just a slip-up. The problem is Marianne is fighting back in her own way. She's been calling relatives constantly, trying to spin the story, and now her version is that Anna and I have teamed up to ruin her reputation. She claims we're jealous of her bond with the kids and that we're both using our husbands to punish her. She even went as far as telling one of Mark's aunts that I have been controlling him since day one and that he can't even speak for himself, which is ridiculous because Mark is the one who's angriest at her right now. The aunt repeated it back to me at a family gathering like she expected me to defend myself, but honestly, I did not even bother because it feels pointless when Marianne's always rewriting everything to make herself the victim. The cousin's playdate incident has also made things weird between extended family because the other cousin's parents do not want their kids around Marianne either, but they do not want to be the ones to say it out loud. They keep sending me private messages saying they agree with me, but then in a group setting, they stay quiet because nobody wants to be the one who upsets Marianne face to face. It feels like high school drama, except it's about our kids' safety, and that makes me so angry. Because how can anyone tiptoe around her feelings when the reality is she left 3 little kids to fend for themselves, and they ended up wandering around in public. One of the things that happened recently was during a family dinner that Anna decided to skip because she did not want to see her mom. Marianne showed up with printed pictures of herself holding Ethan from months ago and started handing them out like she was campaigning. She kept saying things like, "Look how happy he was with me. See how much he loves me." Mark got so mad he told her to stop parading pictures like proof of being a good grandma, and that's when she started crying loudly at the table. It was so over the top. People in the restaurant turned to look at us. She accused me of turning her son against her and Anna against her, and she stormed out, leaving the photos behind. I picked them up later and honestly just shoved them in a drawer because I couldn't stand looking at them. Behind the scenes, Anna and I talk every single day now, and we've gotten closer through all of this. She admitted she used to resent me because her mom painted me as someone who was controlling and dramatic. But now she feels guilty for ever believing that. She's been venting a lot about how much she hates that her mother embarrassed her in front of her kids, and she said Sophia keeps asking why Grandma left them alone, and that broke her heart. It's one thing when adults argue, but when the kids start noticing that Grandma is not safe to be around, it really shifts everything. Anna says she feels like her childhood memories are being rewritten because she used to think her mom was strict but reliable, but now she questions if Marianne might have cut corners back then too. As for Ethan, I have become even more protective. I do not even let him out of my sight when we go to family events. If Marianne tries to approach him, I make sure I am right there. I can tell she hates that, but I don't care. My trust is completely gone and it's never coming back. Mark supports me on this, and he told his mom flat out that if she keeps pushing, she won't be invited to see Ethan at all. And that led to a screaming match over the phone where she said I was breaking up the family. Mark hung up and blocked her number for a week. When he unblocked her, she sent a bunch of long, guilt-tripping texts about how she might as well be dead since nobody wants her around. The manipulation is constant and exhausting. John actually confronted her face-to-face last week, and according to Anna, it ended in her throwing his car keys across the yard because he wouldn't back down. He told her he would go to court if he had to, and she completely lost it. I wasn't there, but Anna said it was the ugliest fight she's ever witnessed between her husband and her mom. After that, John put his foot down and said Marianne is officially banned from their house. Anna agreed, so now Marianne is calling every relative crying about how her kids are ungrateful and how they have taken her grandkids away. What's shocking is some relatives are still siding with her. One cousin told me privately that everyone makes mistakes, and that kids being left alone once or twice is not the end of the world. I couldn't believe it. I asked if he'd say the same thing if his own kids were found wandering down a road while their grandma was having lunch across town. He didn't answer. It makes me realize some people just refuse to hold certain family members accountable no matter what. The atmosphere at every family function feels tense now. People whisper, people take sides. There are cold shoulders and awkward silences. Anna and I have each other's backs, but the weight of everyone else's judgment is still heavy. Marianne hasn't apologized once, and not a real apology anyway. She just keeps saying, "The kids are fine, so why make it a big deal?" I think that sentence alone shows exactly why I will never trust her again. Update 2. I thought of updating my situation after the last time because things have not calmed down at all. And honestly, it feels like everything is just spiraling. Marianne has gone full force into her victim campaign. It's almost like she wakes up every day trying to find a new way to paint herself as the wounded grandma while trashing me and Anna at the same time. She's been calling Mark's extended family and telling them that I am brainwashing him and Anna into hating her. She even told one of Mark's cousins that she's scared I'll file a restraining order just to make her look bad. The wild part is she's not entirely wrong, because John has actually started the process of consulting a lawyer about whether they can get a formal no-contact order for their kids. Anna is backing him completely, and she said it's not about being dramatic, but about protecting Sophia and Liam, since Marianne has shown zero remorse and continues to act like nothing happened. Things got explosive again during a birthday party for one of the younger cousins. I almost did not go, but Anna begged me to come because she did not want to be cornered alone. Sure enough, Marianne showed up in this big dramatic fashion, wearing a shirt that said "Best Grandma Ever" across the front and carrying gift bags for every child except mine and Anna's. She handed them out one by one like she was Santa Claus, and then made a loud comment about how sad it is that some kids do not get to have a real relationship with their grandmother. Everyone went silent because it was so obviously targeted. Anna grabbed her kids and went outside crying. I stayed, but Mark ended up confronting his mom and telling her that pulling stunts like that was exactly why she was losing everyone's respect. She burst into tears again in front of the whole family, started screaming about betrayal, and stormed out. Later that night, she posted a long rant on Facebook about ungrateful children cutting off loving parents, and the comments section turned into a war zone, with half the family defending her and half finally saying she crossed the line. The fallout from that party has been brutal. Sophia apparently asked Anna why Grandma doesn't like her anymore, and Anna broke down because she doesn't even know how to explain it to a 6-year-old. Liam has started saying he doesn't want to see Grandma, which actually shocked me because he used to adore her. Ethan is still too little to understand, but I have noticed Marianne hasn't even tried to reach out to him directly anymore. Instead, she tries to guilt Mark with constant texts saying things like, Ethan will grow up hating him for keeping them apart. Mark showed me one of the texts and said he's done. He doesn't even respond now. John has gotten bolder since that party. He actually called Marianne one night and told her that if she doesn't stop harassing Anna, he will press charges over the last incident. She completely lost it and left Anna voicemails that were so unhinged, Anna saved them as evidence, and one of them had her yelling that Anna was dead to her and that she would regret turning her back on her mother. It was chilling to hear, and honestly, I think Anna is shaken because she never thought her mom could sound so hateful. In the middle of all this, Mark's dad, who's been mostly quiet up until now, finally spoke up. He's divorced from Marianne but still sees her occasionally. He called Mark and basically said he's embarrassed by her behavior and that he can't defend her anymore. Apparently, even he told her she needs therapy and to take accountability. But she flipped on him too and accused him of siding with me. So now she's alienating even her ex-husband, who used to be one of her defenders. The extended family drama is exhausting. Some cousins unfriended me on social media after Marianne's rant. One aunt sent me a private message saying she knows what Marianne did was wrong, but I should think about how hard it must be for a grandmother to feel left out. I couldn't even respond because the lack of logic made my head spin. Left out and neglected is not the same as abandoning kids and leaving them wander in public. But some people will excuse anything as long as it keeps family harmony intact. The spiciest thing lately, though, is Anna and I actually sat down and talked about going no contact as a united front. We haven't told Marianne yet, but we are leaning towards cutting her off completely. Anna said she can't live in this constant cycle of chaos and manipulation, and I feel the same. The issue is we know she's going to make it a public spectacle the moment we do it. She'll tell everyone we're monsters and probably show up at our houses crying, or even try to ambush us at events. Part of me feels nervous about taking that final step because I know how relentless she is. But another part of me feels like it's the only way to get peace. Mark and John are fully on board. They have already talked about standing together, and even if it means being blacklisted by parts of the family, they're okay with it. Mark said he doesn't care if he never speaks to his mom again, if it means protecting Ethan, and John said he's done giving second chances. Anna and I are still trying to process the emotional weight of it, but every time Marianne pulls another stunt, it gets easier to imagine life without her. I can feel the tension building to some kind of breaking point soon, because Marianne keeps escalating. She started dropping by Anna's house, uninvited, and banging on the door even though John told her to stay away. Last week she sat in her car outside their driveway for over an hour, and when Anna finally confronted her through the window, she sped off. Anna called me right after and said she feels unsafe and is ready to file for a restraining order if it happens again. I told her I support her because that kind of behavior is crossing into harassment territory. As for me, I'm just drained. I never wanted to be in a position where my mother-in-law is the center of all this chaos. I wanted a normal family dynamic where grandparents are trusted and helpful, but instead I feel like I'm dealing with a never-ending storm. Friends who hear about it say it sounds like a soap opera, and honestly, it feels like living in one every week. There's a new scene, a meltdown, a new accusation. It's exhausting. But at the same time, I can't back down because the kids' safety has to come first. Update 3. I thought the last one would be the final update, but here I am again because things just keep getting worse, and it feels like Marianne is determined to drag everyone down with her. After Anna and I decided we were leaning towards no contact, we tried to keep it quiet, but of course Marianne somehow picked up on the shift. She started blowing up Mark's phone with long emotional texts about how mothers always sacrifice for their kids and how she deserves loyalty in return. When he didn't answer, she sent him a picture of a framed baby photo of him with a caption saying, "This is the son I raised, not the stranger you've become." It was creepy, but more than anything, Mark showed me right away and said he feels like she's unraveling completely. A few days later, she showed up at our house unannounced. I was home alone with Ethan, and she started banging on the door so loudly it made him cry. I did not open it and stood there for almost 20 minutes yelling about how I was poisoning her family and how Ethan will hate me when he grows up. Eventually she left, but not before stuffing an envelope into the mailbox. Inside were printed screenshots of Facebook comments where her friends were defending her and calling me controlling. It felt like she wanted to prove that she had people on her side, but honestly, it just made her look desperate. Anna had her own scare the same week when Marianne showed up at Sophia's school pickup. Apparently, she waited near the entrance and tried to approach Sophia directly. Luckily, John was there instead of Anna, and he immediately told her to back off. Sophia was confused and asked why Grandma was at her school, and Anna had to come up with some excuse because she doesn't want her daughter knowing the full ugliness yet. John was furious, and he's pushing harder now for legal action. He said this crossed the line from being irresponsible to being unsafe. The rest of the family is starting to fracture even more. One cousin texted me to say Marianne has been calling everyone, crying, and saying that she might not be around much longer. I don't know if she's implying something darker or just being dramatic, but it's scary because she thrives on making people feel guilty. Some relatives are falling for it and telling us to ease up. Others are saying enough is enough and she needs serious help. The group chat is a battlefield of passive-aggressive comments, painted silence. Holidays are going to be impossible at this rate. The most interesting part, though, was last weekend when we were at a mutual cousin's barbecue and Marianne showed up even though she wasn't invited. She made a beeline straight for Ethan, and I was standing with him when I stepped in front and she raised her voice and said in front of everyone that I was destroying her chance to be a grandmother. She went on this loud rant about how she raised 2 kids alone and deserved respect. People were staring. Anna pulled me aside and said we should leave before it turned uglier. But Mark wasn't having it and told his mom right there that she would never be alone with Ethan again. She screamed so loudly the neighborhood across the street came out to see what was going on. Then she burst into tears and collapsed into a chair like she was performing on stage. Since then, she's been posting cryptic stuff online about being betrayed by her own blood and how daughters-in-law are like vipers. Anna and I have been screenshotting everything because it's proof of her instability and might help if this goes legal. John has already had another call with a lawyer, and Mark said he's ready to back Anna and John in court if it comes to that. It feels like the inevitable end to this is going to be messy and public, but at this point, I am past the stage of caring about family image. The kids deserve safety and peace, and if that means being the villain in Marianne's story, then so be it. Stay tuned for more stories from our girl relationships.